Hey, welcome back for session 3 of bots. Again, we've got Robert, MVP, and James, both from Black Marble. So far we've kind of covered off about the bot framework. We've talked about what it is and the different bits part of that. We've talked about things like Lewis. You showed a good demo of Lewis. So I think in this session we're going to kind of bring it all together, aren't we? And
bring it all together, make it nice. Just make it nice and sweet and show really how.
Okay.
We've got a framework that delivers most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
We've got technologies to deliver you AI and the bots effectively.
Yeah.
With a very crucial relearning facility.
Okay.
And then actually plugging all that together into a live bot, and then as a second demo, how do you then add sentiment analysis to actually really make that bot come to life?
Okay, so pretty demo heavy. Most of this session is demo. Right,
Demo.
okay, perfect. So have we got a recap of what the scenario is? Is that
Yes. That's the theory.
Okay. There's you
So
two.
There's us two. The agenda, exactly as we said.
Yeah.
A Lewis recap, more intelligent bot,
Okay.
and then a demo of the two together.
Perfect.
So Lewis, as we said, is gives us the ability to actually take the text that's coming in, or we call them utterances in Lewis,
Okay.
breaking it through our model into intent and into an entity.
So Lewis is actually, just to recap, Lewis is an acronym for Language Understanding Intelligence Service.
Yes.
Always forget the I.
And it's really that model, the black box, and that's exactly what it's, a black box. We provide it with what we're looking for, intent and entities, and it takes utterances and then turns them into intent and entities.
Okay, so in the second session we showed how it was trained, so now we're going to start to apply this out to the actual bot.
That's
okay?
exactly right, yeah. So we've got this slide here to show you, you know, again from a user perspective, what we're going to be showing you in the demo.
Sure.
So we've got Amy talking to our bot over Skype.
Yep.
We then have this black box, which is our application, our bot implementation.
Yep.
We've already seen in the previous demo, we've got an API controller.
Yep.
If you want some kind of background in terms of, you know, how a bot application is structured, I'd suggest you look at the first session that we did this afternoon.
Yeah, you went through that, didn't you? Yeah.
But basically, it's a web API exposed over a channel.
Okay.
So the API is kind of responsible for marshalling requests from the channel. We're going to use a Lewis dialog that's categorized in intents. The Lewis dialog is the thing that brokers utterances from the user and basically parses them, parses the intents from Lewis and the entities and presents them to the boss.
So it's like a mapping, I suppose?
It is, it's a mapping. So in this diagram,
okay.
you know, you can see you've got Lewis on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
and it's the dialogue that's responsible for talking to Lewis
Sure.
and, you know, sending it the utterance and getting back the intent and the entities.
Okay.
And then finally, we've combined the dialogue with form flow to kind of show you how you can build a more like a business process inside your application.
Okay.
Almost. You know, for our sales example, consultant sales process has a specific process that we go through.
Yep.
So we need to guide the user, we need to capture certain pieces of information, so we use the form flow to kind of do that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Good. So
Okay.
we've got a demo to kind of show this, what you've just seen.
Yep.
So
you're going to start off with that initial project you showed in session 1, or are you starting from scratch?
I'm going to start completely from scratch
okay,
because I'd like
okay.
to actually show you the end-to-end story.
That's good.
From registration to development up to publishing and testing.
Very
and
useful. Very
okay.
useful. Okay.
So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Dev Bot Framework, and this is the place we go to register our bot.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to upload a custom icon that I've prepared,
Looks familiar.
and I'm going to call it TechDays Bots Demo 3.
Okay, so you're putting in the idea of the bot.
Yeah.
You're putting in handle and...
So you have a name, which is kind of
name,
like the system name, and then you have a handle, which is how it's presented to users through the different channels.
Yeah.
And then the description, you know, this bot will let you talk to Black Marble about sales.
Okay.
Okay. Then we need to define a messaging endpoint. So we're going to publish this to Azure.
Okay.
So that's our ultimate endpoint.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to type that in. .Azure websites.
Then
.net.
using that API messages.
Messages endpoint at the end.
As we discussed in that first session. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
fine. Yep.
So that's how the bot framework can communicate with your bot
Yep.
application. Okay. Then we need to go in and generate an app ID.
Yep.
So we've got a wizard to do this. So we just give it a second and it'll generate an app ID for us.
Okay.
I talked about saving these settings previously, but it's a good idea just to, while you're initially developing, to capture these three things.
Yep.
So we've got the app name, we've got the ID,
And then you've got the password.
and then we've got the password, exactly
Yep.
right.
Okay.
So the password is kind of is presented to me
Mhm.
once, so I just need to make sure I store that somewhere securely.
Yep.
If I do need to retrieve that password, I
You
can't
can
retrieve it.
Yep.
I need to regenerate a different password.
That's fair enough. Yep.
I think the universal learning here really is that Notepad is the most secure store for all of your passwords.
Very useful Notepad.
Yeah, please don't take my example of storing everything in Notepad. This is really just for ease of demo.
Of course.
Although you are a Notepad MVP, so I'm sure you could talk at length about the security
And the joys of Notepad.
implementation of Notepad.
It's hidden under being an Azure MVP, but it's really for Notepad.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so I need to fill in some details about the publisher.
Yep.
So I'm just going to put company name, Black Marble. Then we need to provide some URLs where the users can go to access. Here we've got privacy statement, for example,
Mhm.
that one there.
Like we had before.
Terms of use and bot website.
Yep. So we'll put those in.
So I'll just type
And those
those
will
in.
appear within your bot directory listing in various places. So yeah, that's fine.
Exactly right.
Okay.
And then finally, we have the option to add to Azure App
App
Insights.
Insights, which we covered off in that second session. Yeah.
That's right.
So we could skip that for this one.
Okay, so I'm just going to click OK. It's created the bot now. And we have two bots created. We have a Skype channel, two channels created, a Skype channel and a web chat channel.
Yep.
So
So that's out of the box. Out of the box, you get the Skype one.
yeah, it's all configured,
Yeah.
all ready for you to use in Skype, which I'll show in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to skip to Visual Studio now and actually write the implementation.
Okay.
What is our bot actually going to do? So I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to use the name of the bot just for consistency, not that one. So I'll just copy that from there. I'll use that as a name.
Yep.
Click OK. Using the bot application template again, exactly the same as
As you showed in that
as
session
we showed
one, yeah,
previously.
we downloaded it from the dev.botframework.com and
Yep.
yeah, perfect. And it's going to create that boilerplate example, which was the Echo bot, I think.
Exactly.
As I remember. Yeah.
And we're going to take that example and we're going to wire in the intelligence that Lewis gives us.
Okay.
Okay. So if you haven't seen the first session, the very first thing we need to do is we need to provide some configuration. We need to provide these three
Yeah.
values.
So you're plugging those three values that you just got from
Yep.
the app ID straight, app portal straight into that. Okay.
Okay. So I'm just going to grab those, stick those in here.
Yep. That's hooking it all together.
Okay. So we've got a boilerplate Hello World bot configured now, as we did in the first demo. But we want to take it a bit further. We want to add intelligence to it. So what we need to do is we need to, if you think back to the diagram that we just showed, where we had the Lewis dialog and we had the form flow,
Yep.
we need to build those components up.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got some code snippets that I'm going to pull in, just for convenience, but I'll
Okay.
talk you through
Yeah.
what they do.
Talk to us where you're putting them.
So in terms of physically where you put them in the project, you can put them anywhere.
Yeah.
It really comes down to development standards
Mhm.
in the same way as any web API would.
Yep.
I'm going to create a folder here called conversation.
Okay.
And I'm going to stick my conversation elements in there. Okay. So the first thing I need to do is to add my Lewis dialog. So this is the thing that's going to connect to my Lewis model.
So that's actually a type of dialogue that Is it a type of dialogue? Is it okay?
Yep, it is. It's the type of dialogue that bot framework gives you.
Okay.
It's already kind of configured to connect to Lewis.
Okay.
You just need to provide a bit of information.
Okay.
Okay.
You're creating the dialogue inherited from that.
That's right.
Okay.
Lewis dialogue. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm just going to drag across this code, and I'll briefly explain what
let's
this
talk
means.
through that a bit. Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
work out what's going on there.
So I'll just fix these missing references. And
Okay. So just pulling in the namespaces that you need around that. Yep.
Yep. So we're okay. So I'll talk you through this. Ignore the errors because we'll fix them as we add the other components.
Sure. Okay.
So we're extending this Lewis dialogue, which is, as I say, it's a component that bot framework gives you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can literally just take this and make use of it.
Yep.
The important thing is this attribute at the top, which is the Lewis model, and that's the thing that tells the dialogue how to associate itself with Lewis. So you need to provide two pieces of information here, the model ID and the subscription key.
So this is now linking this dialogue to the Lewis model that you created and that you demoed in the previous session.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I'm going to jump about a bit. So
No,
hopefully
that's fine, that's fine. I'm just
hopefully
kind
it
of
makes sense.
hooking it, linking it together there, yeah, that makes sense.
So if we go back to Lewis, and
So I'm now back at lewis.ai, going in, and you've got your model set up here.
yep, so I'm in the model, the sales model that we defined.
That we showed in yep,
So if I click on app settings,
okay.
I get the app ID.
Ah,
okay?
right, yep,
So
yep.
that's one of the pieces of information that I need.
Yep,
So I'm going to copy that and paste that in there. So that's very similar to the idea that your bot's got an app ID as well.
yep,
Exactly the same. And in the same way, you also need a key, a subscription key.
okay.
Okay, so I'm going to,
Where do I find that?
it's hidden away. So if you click apologies, I clicked away from that quite quickly. But if you click on this little cog.
Oh, yes,
in the
yeah,
top right,
yeah, on the cog bay, yeah, yeah.
and then that'll take you to like a user management thing,
Okay,
and I can just grab that key from there.
yep.
Okay,
That's useful. It was a little bit hidden away.
it is
wasn't
hidden, and
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
want to be aware of. Okay, so in theory, that's all we need to kind of connect it to the model.
Okay.
Now we need to tell it, what are the intents in the model, how to map them to code.
Right, okay.
Okay, so the way we do that is, again, we use attributes. So here we've got a Lewis intent for consultancy.
Oh, okay, so
Okay.
that was one of your intents that were mapped in that model, I see.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're saying, okay, if that intent is picked up, then this is what I'm going to do. That's
Exactly.
the bot's going, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So nice and easy to kind of get up
yeah,
and running.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But
yeah.
I think it's just a case of being aware that these things exist, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And being able to use them.
Yeah.
We then have other intents, so we've got technical leadership, custom development, general, and then finally we have this one, which is our, you remember Robert
No.
asked the question about
Oh,
none.
well, the none one, yes, yeah.
So this is
yeah.
really, if any utterances have been provided that the Lewis model doesn't know how to deal with, it'll just return.
It says
in
I
this
don't
case.
know.
So
Basically.
I'm going to make a general suggestion here.
Yeah.
Now this is for demo. What I'd like you normally to see there would be, I don't understand what you've asked me, please type help for guidance, and you add a help intent,
Yeah.
which then gives you an example of
Yeah.
all the things you need.
I see.
Those two really simple tips will get you a really great feeling bot.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely agree, because you're giving the user a way to move forward. And it's by saying, as you say, I don't know, you're like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah,
But,
it's not.
I know, I
It's
appreciate
not
it's
the
a demo.
experience that you want to give to your user today.
But that's
yeah.
a great tip, sir.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of how the Lewis dialogue maps intent, which is really powerful.
Okay.
And then
That's done a lot of work, isn't it? I mean, that's actually just that mapping.
It's trivial.
Yeah,
it really
yeah,
is trivial,
yeah.
and it's again, it's being aware of these tools.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is, remember, we have, let's imagine we're Black Marble and we have all these different sales processes for different types of engagements.
Yeah.
So for consultancy, we have a very specific set of data that we want to capture
Mhm.
from the user. So we're going to basically apply another a form flow dialog on top of this dialog.
Okay.
Basically add it to the stack.
Okay.
So what Bot Framework will do, it'll maintain like a conversation stack. So we can kind of chain these up on top of each other.
Okay.
Okay, so here we create a new form dialog of sales inquiry. If there's a technology entity provided by Lewis, we retrieve it.
Yeah.
So we've got a link query there saying, retrieve me any entities where the type is technology.
Yeah.
So if you remember back to the model, we have a technology entity type. And then we pass that into our sales process to kind of give it a kickstart if we can provide any additional information. Okay, so I'm going to add the sales process now to kind of fill in the missing details.
Sure.
So the next thing we need is a new class. And I'm going to call this one Consultancy Sales Inquiry. Maybe a typo there, that's okay, I'll fix that. Yep. Okay.
Very easy Visual Studio.
Yes, Visual Studio does make this really easy. Again, I'm just going to drag this snippet across. This one's a bit easy.
Let's chunk the code there. Okay, so
it's easier for me to
let's talk through that code a little bit.
So if you've ever done any kind of C# development before, this should be really comfortable to you.
Yeah.
It's really just a plain old...
Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, let's have a zoom in a bit.
So
Let's see what's going on there.
It's a plain old C# object.
Okay.
So we've got a number of properties, technology, version of technology, telephone number, name. So you can literally just define them, and that can kind of be your information that you're capturing.
Okay.
But you can also...
And then an attribute to actually give some information.
Yeah, so this is kind of where you're providing your human, your human friendliness almost.
Yeah.
So here, when rather than just saying what's the technology, you're actually saying
absolutely
something a bit more.
That's that part of that personalization you were talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it makes it really easy to do that. So then I'll just briefly talk about what we're doing here. So again, I'm just going to fix these missing
namespace again. Then zoom on in again, and let's have a look at what's going on there.
So we're using this form builder,
okay,
which is kind of the thing that gives us the form flow.
So that's again in the bot framework.
Again, it's another component of the bot framework.
Yeah.
So you install the bot framework template, and it gives you this out of the box. Okay, so we've got a message that we're displaying to user first, saying thank you for your message.
Yeah.
And then what we're doing is we're saying, okay, I need the information for the name. Okay.
Yeah.
I need the information for the technology. I need the information from the version, and that's looking at the fields that we've defined on this class.
I see.
And presenting a prompt to the user using these properties.
So it's giving you that guided experience.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we've got quite a nice definition there. Then we have a confirmation, so we can have some level of interaction with the user.
Yeah.
Say, are you sure this is what you want? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
If not, then obviously we can drill into that. Depending on the business process. Then finally, we display a message saying, thank you. I'll take some contact details if that's okay, and then we add remaining fields. So that will make sure we've captured all the information that we need.
That's powerful, isn't it? I mean,
it is super powerful.
A powerful way of being able to capture that data in a kind of structured manner. Say we're going back to that point where we're saying where conversations very quickly can become messy, and in terms of managing it, that's doing a load of work.
It's doing tons, and to be honest, Simon, you could literally just, if you didn't have like a specific order in which you wanted to capture the data, you could just have that add remaining fields and just let this take care of everything for you.
Okay.
Really simple. And then finally, on completion, if I just zoom in, we are generating a card.
Okay.
So a card is like a visual prompt that we're showing to the user.
So you're starting to bring in a little bit of that, those extra kind of imagery or media or ways of interacting with it.
Just to kind of engage the users. In this instance, because we're going to be calling the customer back, we're saying, Amy's going to contact you.
Yeah.
We show a picture of Amy.
Right.
And we say, while you're waiting for the call, why don't you have a look at our website, that kind of thing.
Right, okay.
So obviously, it's specific to your application, but you can see, we're generating an action which opens a URL to our website.
Yep.
We're generating a card saying Amy will be in touch.
Yep.
Then we're just sending that back as part of the conversation.
So it's pretty easy to put in that additional.
But it's not just easy, it's the fact that sort of all the light up features like hero cards and all that sort of stuff are just baked in for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, remember, this is delivering over a whole variety of different channels.
Yeah. So what happens if I've decided to put that hero card in and then I'm using this on SMS, for example? What happens there?
You just have to be aware of the capabilities of the channel, really.
Okay.
And
Will the bot framework handle it at all?
Yeah, the bot
it will.
framework will handle it
Okay.
and present it in the best way it can.
Right. Okay. But I guess you can pick up. Thinking back to that message, you can actually see what message.
can.
Yeah, you can look at the channel, you can, and you can make a decision on the channel whether to do it or not.
Okay.
The key thing, really, Simon, is not relying on the card capability to deliver cards being there.
Okay.
You need to be aware that if you're exposing this over other types of channels, you need to be able to inform the user in a similar
Good
way.
advice. Oh, okay. Yep.
Okay, and then finally, I've just put a comment saying, this is where you might want to wire into a CRM system.
Yeah, I see.
Because we've retrieved a customer inquiry, we create a contact in CRM, and we have all kinds of business processes to handle that.
So pull in that info, push it in. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
I can do that back end. Yeah,
But IT was a bit loath to let us wire it in on a live demo.
I don't know what.
I don't know. That's just that Rick fella for you.
Okay, so we defined our Lewis integration. How we get the intent to the bot to
You've
kind
got
of
the
start
dialogue
off the
in there.
process.
Yeah, and I see.
And the form flow on top of that.
And the form flow. So we've demonstrated those two components working together really nicely.
Okay.
The next thing we need to do is actually initiate that.
Okay.
So we need to update the controller.
So you're now going back to that main message loop, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get rid of this controller, this API controller, and just drag in,
Okay.
again, some more pre-prepared code I have. So,
But this is all the Git repository.
Oh,
so
perfect.
Yeah,
So people can go away and
no.
take a look at that. Okay.
yeah. We've quickly dumped some code in, but you'll never find it again. No, it's in the repository, so you can look at it. That's all fine.
And I think you mentioned they've got the JSON model as well for the
Node.js guys.
For the Lewis model. So,
Yeah.
It's perfect.
so you can rebuild the whole thing
Yeah,
and see
yeah.
how it works. So in this example,
Can you zoom in on that, please?
Yep, certainly.
So
So
we can have a
just-
quick look at that.
again, we've got our post,
Yep.
which should be familiar to anyone who's followed along. Basically, the bot framework will call into this when a channel receives a message.
Yep.
It sends us an activity object. We can then use that to kind of make decisions.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're building a conversation with our Lewis dialog. Okay.
Yep.
So here we've got this function called make route. So we just navigate into there, and what this is doing is adding the sales Lewis dialog. Kind of, if you remember, we talked about a stack of dialogues.
Yeah.
This is kind of adding a dialogue to that stack.
Okay.
And bot framework will maintain all the state and making sure that when that dialogue's finished, it returns to the right place.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to kind
So
of
you've
get
got this
up and
chain
running.
of dialogues and you're just adding that one in. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep.
In
yep.
this instance, we've only got one dialogue we're
Yep.
adding, but obviously, your
You could
application
start
might
them up.
vary.
Yeah.
So in theory, that's everything we need to get everything up and running.
Okay.
So I'm just going to run this locally.
Okay. Using the emulator.
Yeah.
Okay,
Again, this
yep.
is normal development process.
Yep.
We've developed something. We need to test it.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll use our
Right. Build.
built. That's always a good start, isn't it?
For most developers, that means it's a shipping product, right?
Well, ship it.
Ship it. Yeah. Don't even test it. Come on. It's just going to work, isn't it? So again, we just need to copy
Yeah. You
these
put
values
those
across.
the app ID and the password into there,
Yeah. So just grab that one.
and your port is the same. Everything's set up. So
Everything's set up exactly
Now,
the
that's
same.
actually quite a. With the port, it's actually catches you out quite a lot. For some reason, I mean, mine changes quite a lot.
It does.
seems
I've
to catch me
noticed
out.
it changes by one.
Yes,
doesn't
that's
it?
right. Yeah. 8 to 9, and it's just like, it catches me out quite a
Yeah,
lot.
so
yeah.
Just one to watch out for. Sometimes Visual Studio will assign a different port if that one's been used, and you might find yourself debugging against the wrong bot. So
Exactly.
just watch
Yeah.
out.
But that happens more when you're doing demos than anything
Well,
else.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So for most people, as it turns out, it won't matter.
No, that's
You'll generally
true.
be doing
That's
one at
true.
once.
That is true. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to type in a sample
Okay.
utterance down here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, I am interested in as your consultancy. Okay?
Okay.
And what that's going to do, that's going to obviously initialize our bot application.
Yep.
And it's going to go into, because it's identified as your consultancy,
Yeah.
it's automatically going into that form flow that we've defined.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll just demonstrate this and then I'll debug.
Yeah.
Zoom in slightly so people can see.
Yep, sure.
Yeah,
so we've
zoom
got
in a bit, yeah. And we've got the response on the right-hand side as well. We got Jason on the right-hand side there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
okay.
you
So
can
it says,
see-
hi, thank you for your message. Before we start, what's your name? So now, as you say, we've gone into that form flow. So we've
Yep.
picked the intent up using Lewis.
Yep.
It's gone, okay, the intent is to I'm interested in this particular tech. And now you're going through that flow, which has been defined by form flow.
exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Perfect, okay.
So I'm just going to provide some information. Again, this is a contrived example.
Yeah, yeah.
But-
What happens if I, so there's no kind of sanity check on the kind of information being put in there? They're just
So
providing.
you can validate using things like regex and certain
Right.
data types and things like
Yeah.
that.
But
What-
because they're actually just get set properties, you can actually do the work inside the property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'd say is have a look at the bot framework documentation because it's got some really good usage examples
Oh,
of
some nice
different
samples.
scenarios.
Okay, yeah.
And it'll
yeah.
tell you, if you want to do a regex match, for example, if you want to make sure it's a certain data type,
Yeah.
if it's mandatory, if it's optional, that kind of
Okay.
validation,
okay,
it'll
that's
do that
useful.
for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, I'm just talking to the bot. I'm just providing it all the information that it needs.
Okay, so it's working its way down through
Yeah.
that
So it's
flow.
saying
Yeah.
here, thanks. I'll take down some contact details if that's okay, and then someone will call you back ASAP.
Yep.
Asking me for a phone number. If you remember back to the definition of the dialogue, these are like the friendly prompts that we
They're the
defined
prompts,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah. Making it feel a bit more personal.
So I do have a phone number, so I'm just going to type that in.
Yeah.
And then we get our card presented.
There's the contact card. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So it's going to say
Right.
Amy's going to be in touch, to talk to you more about this.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, while you're waiting, why don't you have a look at some of the other services? So this is kind of engaging the user, and making
Yeah,
them
I
feel
like
like,
it. I like it.
okay, I've
Yeah.
not just talked to a machine and that's it. I'm actually I'm actually engaged with Black Marble now.
Yeah.
It's quite
Yeah,
compelling.
Absolutely. Yeah, putting a face to it really does help.
It does.
Yeah,
It does. It
yeah,
does. You're
I like
exactly
it,
right.
Yeah.
Now, what we're also able to do, of course, if it was a Skype channel, you actually wouldn't have a call. You'd actually just open up a Skype call within Skype itself.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. So you initiate that from within the bot.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, so we are running a little bit low on time, so we'll move on to the slides and we'll move on to the next
Okay.
demo,
Okay.
because
So
I think
just to
that's
recap there, what you've done, you've taken your Lewis model, you've applied it, actually built your bot using that Lewis model, using a Lewis dialogue so that helps pick up the intent, and then after that you've used form flow to work down through a kind of guided
Yes.
request for input, I suppose, from the user, and
Yep.
then used a card to display some data at the end, or display some info at the end.
All in
Fantastic.
somewhere in the region of about 50,
15 minutes?
Yeah, and talking
Well,
through it as well.
Not bad, is it?
I'd say
Not bad
50
at
to
all.
60
Don't
lines
make
of
it look
code.
that simple. I'm going to be out of a job. No, that's great. Okay, so so that was that. So we've got, okay, so now we're on to sentiment analysis.
Yes.
Tell me more.
So, we're able to actually take text and actually turn it into a structure which we can programmatically drill down on.
Yep.
The piece that's actually has foxed a lot of systems in the past is actually how the user feels.
Okay.
Now, there are times when you could say a lot of text is what you call neutral sentiment. I am interested in this. Would probably actually be a positive statement. But there's lots of cases when from the words that are being typed or the words that are being spoken,
Yeah.
you can determine whether the person's happy or angry.
Okay.
In a lot of cases, really with bots, you really look out for people who are not very happy, because it's the, if we're building something, it's a banking bot or something like that.
Yep.
You want to know, does this customer need a different kind of attention?
So you're trying to pick up on user frustration during the flow, and what you're saying, okay, potentially if they're particularly frustrated, you could hand off to a human.
Yep.
Maybe? Yeah.
So if we maybe go through a couple of examples we've got.
Okay.
So again, here's somebody coming in saying, I've got an issue which has got like minor problems. Could you look at it at some point? That'd be kind of nice.
Yep.
So we can actually run it through again, the black box which is coming in service.
Yep.
And actually say, okay, they're positive, but they're not 100% positive, and it'll give us a measure of how to deal with that as a problem.
Sure. Okay. Okay.
And you'd say this is probably you'd class this as maybe a niggle as opposed to a genuine deep problem.
Okay.
Still has to be dealt with, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Still has to be dealt with, but prioritisation is a different case.
Okay.
But say if you actually look at Lauren, who's clearly a little bit on the grumpy side.
I like the cloud.
So, and so Lauren generally can be grumpy a lot of the time. My mini-me is shorter and fatter, and I'm fairly fat, but shorter than fat everywhere else because I upset her once, and even 10 years later she won't make it the same size as everybody else's. So grumpy's there, but she's genuinely lovely. But, you know, the sentiment clearly on that message is, I'm in trouble, I want help.
Yeah. This is really important, this is urgent, yeah. So again,
And
we're using those cognitive APIs, the sentiment analysis. Yeah.
Says very negative.
Okay, we need to
Prioritise
deal with this, because otherwise they're going to get, that customer's going to get, just continually get frustrated with that. And
Now, there is the case, I'd put just a slight warning of caution. There are some people who are just angry all the time.
okay,
You know, so the best we can say is this messaging is, and what I'd say is, as you deal with people over time, build up a record, and if they're angry all the time, you might want to deal with them in a slightly different way.
sure, okay, okay.
But the best thing to do, because of time, let's step into the next demo.
Okay, back
lovely.
to James then on the demo.
Yes. So
So we're using that same thing, or is this a separate demo?
So I'm gonna create a new bot just to kind of illustrate this. I'll rattle through creating the bot because we've seen it already.
Yeah.
But what we're going to have a look at now is cognitive services.
Okay.
And making use of the sentiment analysis, determining whether someone is unhappy or happy.
Okay, so this is one of those services that sits on top of Azure ML that's providing you with some pretty impressive text analysis to determine sentiment.
It is, exactly right.
Okay, okay.
So I've got a couple of samples here. You saw them in the slide.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you in the cognitive services demo portal.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass these values in, and you're going to see how it makes sense of that.
Okay, okay.
So if we have a look at the text analytics website in cognitive services, we've got a demo here, which is quite a nice way to kind of see whether it'd be useful for your application.
Sure.
So I'm just going to literally just paste in here.
So this is just a sandbox, a demo environment you go into and type this in.
Yeah, this is publicly available. Anyone can try this out.
Okay.
So I'm just going to paste this one in here.
Yeah.
Analyze, and it's pretty quick, and it gives us a result in terms of.
So what's it showing there? It's showing. Okay,
so it's picked out some key.
So it's confidence English. Okay.
Yeah. I mean the text
clever.
analytics does a few things. We're focusing on sentiment,
Yeah.
but it also recognises the different languages that might be used.
Sure.
It also pulls out key phrases, like here we can pull out urgent issue, create problems,
Yeah.
company in pounds.
Yeah.
So we can get some like maybe hashtags off the back of that, in terms of making sense of what they're trying to, what they're trying to convey in the message. But the key thing is the sentiment, which is 5%, which is
pretty negative, isn't it?
Very negative. Yeah.
Okay.
So if we try the same demo with this sample here.
Okay.
We can see that although they're
much
reporting
more
a problem,
Yeah.
the language is positive.
Okay. Yeah. So we haven't hit frustration level of that user. So in that way, we can start to think about the way that the bot responds to that user, but in a different way. And they say not bringing in perhaps that human contact if it needs to.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly right. So we've tried this out, and we know text analytics is going to add value to our application.
Yeah.
So how do we implement it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got a link to the API up here.
Okay.
So if I just click on this will take me to like a document, an interface documentation page.
Okay.
And I can have a look at, on the left-hand side, we've got a post
Yep.
for sentiment. So if I just click on that, it tells you, what you need to pass it to the service.
Okay.
We need to pass a language. That's English, French, Spanish, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We give it an ID. So, if we're doing loads of different requests to sentiment
And then you
analysis,
just pick up whichever one I see.
we can pick the right one up,
Yeah.
and then the text that we want to analyze.
Okay. Yep.
And then We can also test it. I'm not going to try it through this portal because I've got some code to do the same thing. But if you want to, there is a link up here to try it. Oops. To try it. So you can try it and you could edit the content of the message and send it through. So it's quite a nice
so lots of experience. Documentation's pretty thorough, right?
It is very thorough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quickly register a bot. I mean, like I say, I'm going to do this quite quick.
Yeah,
so
we've seen this. No, that's okay. We've seen this, but hey, there's no harm in seeing it again.
So provide a custom icon. We'll give it a name, and we'll call this one. Just keep track of where I'm at. I'll say bot demo 4. Get rid of these 2 because we don't need them anymore.
Okay.
Give it a name, description. That's fine.
Yep. Going down through those fields again.
And we generate an app ID and a password.
So you store away again. Yep.
Grab that.
Whilst James is doing that, have you used some of this sentiment analysis in some of your real life bots?
We've been using it in our trial bots, but not actually in customer ones right now.
Okay.
I mean, there is also there's still the case of this is in preview right now.
Yeah.
So for customers,
that's fair enough,
we're hoping it's going to be out of preview rather shortly. So for commercial availability, then it makes a lot of sense to do it then.
Makes sense. But for the proof of concepts and things, do you find it effective?
Yes, I mean, it changes the tone. Now I have to say, actually writing the tone of your messages coming out it's not as straightforward as you might think.
Okay.
There's some good examples there how to do it in cognitive services and the bot framework.
Okay.
There is the psychology of how do you address somebody who's angry.
Right.
Yeah. And that's,
yeah.
Because you can actually do as much to antagonise somebody as not.
Yeah.
So you do have to be slightly careful. The big thing that's happening, you actually said it earlier, quite often in that case, it's transition over to a human operative.
It's understanding when to do that, isn't
yes.
it? In a smooth way, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the cutter figures seem to be about 75%.
Okay.
You know, so 25% happy.
Yeah.
At that sort of point, you really need a human operator.
You're starting to think, okay, yeah. Fair enough.
But that's not fixed. I mean, that's
no. But that's from what you've seen through your initial work. Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, we're early days on this stuff. So you slotted those app IDs in there?
Okay, so I've gone through the whole thing. I've registered my bot. I've made a note of the app ID and the password.
Sure.
I've created a new bot application in Visual Studio.
Okay.
And I've configured it to talk to the bot connector.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's a case of wiring that sentiment analysis into our bot, just to kind of show you how that works.
Okay.
So again, I've got a bit of code as a snippet that I can just drag in. Just drag that across. And I'll just talk you through what we've got here.
Can you zoom in a little bit, please?
Certainly can.
Yeah, thank you. So we can just see what's...
You're
just fixing namespaces.
Zoom in.
Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
That's perfect, thank you.
Lovely. So, first of all, we've got HTTP client. Because cognitive services pretty much exposes everything of a REST-based API, we can use an HTTP client to invoke this. Obviously, you don't need to use .NET to do this. You can use any language you wish.
Yep.
Node.js. And then we create a new object.
Yep.
And that object has basically got the ID. You remember when we looked at the API, we had the ID of the object, just to identify when it came back.
Yep.
And then we had the text as well. We ship that up as JSON. So we bundle that up and package it, and then we post that to the endpoint. So we get to this point, and we get a response back from our REST-based service, which we then parse, using JSON.NET. We then take the score.
So you got your sentiment score now, 0 to 100, what we were talking about. Okay.
There.
Yeah.
And then we just present it back to the user, just as a, you are happy or unhappy, and then it shows you the percentage happiness. So it's obviously a really simple example, but it's really to illustrate. Illustrate the idea. So I'm gonna test this locally first and make sure this works, and then I'll publish to Azure, and we can
Okay.
You can see the whole story.
That'd be quite nice to show it published as
Yeah.
well and through Skype. You show it in Skype, aren't you, I think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So again, I just need to grab these values and put it in the bot emulator. So
Let's see if it works. Yeah, the emulator, I find the emulator so useful for testing. It's just
it is
a
fantastic.
great tool, really.
It does everything you'd need it
Yeah, absolutely.
to. So I can type a message in. Just type in, I am really angry. See what that does. Hopefully that should work.
We're all waiting in anticipation.
It is calling out to cognitive services at this point, so there will be a
Sure.
little bit of latency.
Yeah.
And it's saying, if you can't see that, it's saying you're unhappy.
Okay, and there's your score. Perfect.
That's worked.
Perfect.
So
I'm glad they picked up your anger there.
So we've developed it, we've tested it locally,
Sure,
we're happy that
sure.
it's working.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to publish this out to Azure.
Okay.
Again, you can use the hosting provider of choice.
Yeah.
I'm going to use
So
Azure.
in Visual Studio, it's very easy to push it out to Azure.
Very
isn't
easy,
it?
very easy.
Yeah. So you just go through the steps there.
Yep, so I can actually just create a new web app to deploy to straight from here.
Yeah.
So I'll just create a new one, I'll give it the same name. TechDays Bot Demo 4. Select a plan, that's fine. I'll leave everything else as default.
Yep.
Remember, it's just a web API, so there's nothing special about this.
Yep.
There's no...
Apart from it being a bot, which
Apart
makes
from
it,
being
does
a bot.
make it special.
It does. It does.
Good point.
So Visual Studio is creating the Azure website at
Yep.
the moment, so this will take a minute to do. But
Okay.
once it's available, we can then publish this into Azure, and we can test it for real,
Okay.
See the whole thing come together.
I look forward to it. Right. Okay.
No pressure, Azure.
Yeah.
We're just watching the time ticking down to the end.
Yeah.
So
Okay. That's fine. So, yeah. I mean, this step normally takes what for you?
It usually takes about 10, 20 seconds.
Okay. Okay.
In
that's
fact,
fine.
it's literally just done. So
Okay,
I'm going
okay,
to publish
so
that out.
Yep.
When I publish it, I have the option to do a debug or a release.
Yeah.
Typically, you'd release it if you're obviously publishing it to a production environment, but I'm going to publish a debug build
Okay.
just in case I have time to show the debugging tools. I might not, but
I'd assume not.
Yeah. Not a lot of time left on the
not a lot of
session.
time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to publish this out.
Okay.
While that's going, I'm going to pull up the Azure portal.
Okay.
Sorry, the
The
bot framework.
Yeah,
bot.
dev.botframework.com, yeah, and you're looking at your bot here and you've got the different channels.
So we've got this button here which allows us to test.
Yep.
So once that's published out, I'm going to use that button
Okay.
to make sure that the bot registration can connect to our
I
API.
see. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Just confirming
I'll
that.
click
yeah.
that, and hopefully we should get a success back. There we go. Endpoint authorization
Okay,
succeeded.
so that's now live in Azure. We can connect to it. Everything's looking
Yeah.
good.
So
Perfect.
I can obviously connect to this from my machine, but anyone can connect to it
Sure.
as long as they have access to the information they need.
Okay.
Okay. So again, we've got these channels configured by default.
Yep.
I'm going to click the Skype one. That's going to add the bot as a contact to my Skype account, hopefully.
As easy as that.
Yeah, it's easy as that.
Because it's live, it's sitting on Azure, it's,
Yeah.
it's easy as that. I know you mentioned before you needed a dev key, wasn't it? I think I
Yeah.
read it, but effectively that's it.
So you can see it's there. It's got its
now there.
icon. It's
Wow.
fantastic. It's there. And
Okay.
let me type in a couple of these sentiments so we can sort of see it working.
Yeah.
So we've got this one, which is a really negative one, shouty one.
Is it going to work?
Is it going to work? Yes, it is.
Look at that.
So there we
Oh,
go.
well done.
And then
That's fantastic.
Build, deploy,
Yeah.
and implemented in a foreign channel. When I mean foreign,
Yeah, yeah.
outside of your control in
In-
less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. That shows the real power of this framework and this whole kind of tool set, really.
it does.
And,
Yeah.
and this is where the separation of the bot and the channels is so important.
Yeah.
If that
Yeah.
wasn't there, the channel connectors weren't there, this just wouldn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the channels, the concept of the guys who deal with the bot builder framework and the channels have done an amazing job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I
Okay.
suggest we go back to the deck
Yes,
at the
you
end
can.
and do the wrap
So I
up?
think we've just got to wrap up on what we've kind of covered off. So during the sessions, in fact, let's kind of summarise what we've done across the 3 sessions.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
we talked about what bots, why are bots happening at the moment? Why why are they so there's so much interest in them. We've talked about the bot framework and what that is. We've then talked about adding in, showed how to build a bot. Then we've talked about things like adding natural language understanding via Lewis,
Yep.
and started then to talk about different types of dialogue we've got as well within the framework. And then at the end there, you kind of gave a great demo of showing another one of the cognitive APIs, which is the sentiment analysis, to start adding value to
Yep.
it. So perfect. Have we got a link to the resources at the end there?
There we do.
Perfect. So here's some resources. We've got the bot framework, we've got the cognitive services, etc. And we've also, say, all of this code is available on GitHub as well, which will be put into the text for the recording. So that's it. We've come to the end of 3 sessions on bot framework and bots and everything else. And I just want to say thank you so much to Robert and
pleasure.
James for,
Thank you.
first of all, putting so much effort into the deck, but also all the demos worked.
First
Oh
time.
my goodness,
Amazing.
yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed it. This is actually the last session of today. Join us tomorrow on TechDays Online, starting 9:30, when my colleague Marcus Robinson will be talking DevOps. All right. Thanks very much, both.
Thank you, Harrius.
Thanks all. See you. Bye-bye.